Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's exciting lesson. So today we're going to be talking about cash bail, and here are our learning objectives. Number one, I will learn about the criminal justice system. Number two, I will learn about the role of cash bail and alternatives to it. And number three, I will be able to use this information to write contentions. So here's our do now. What do you know about the criminal justice system? Go ahead and answer that question. What do you know about the criminal justice system? All right. So what is the criminal justice system? The criminal justice system, CJS, is a system of law enforcement that involves arresting people, accusing them of a crime, determining whether they committed that crime, and punishing them if they did. And these are the components of the criminal justice system. We have law enforcement. So police patrol communities. I'm sorry. Police patrol communities to help prevent crimes, to investigate incidences of crime, and to arrest people suspected of committing crimes. The court system. The court system consists of attorneys, judges, and juries, as well as ancillary staff. The guilt or innocence of a suspect is determined in court. And correction system, sorry, the text is a little blurry, but I'll do my best. The corrections system incorporates all forms of sentencing and punishment. It includes incarceration and probation. Let's go through and learn about each step of the criminal justice process. We're going to go from the perspective of a defendant or a person who is accused of committing a crime. Step one, police contact. Okay. Let's go through and learn about each step of the criminal justice process. We're going to go from the perspective of a defendant or a person who is accused of committing a crime. Bullet one, after a crime is reported, police investigate to try and figure out who did it. This includes talking to people who may be involved, including the defendant. This is usually the beginning of the defendant's criminal case. Here's a turn and talk. With a partner, discuss. What do you imagine a police investigation looks like? How accurate do you think your imagination is? Have one pair share with the group. Okay, so go ahead. You can write a response to this, and then you can turn and talk. Okay, step two, arrest. If the police think they found enough evidence that a person committed a crime, they'll arrest that person. When you're arrested, the police will take you back to the police station and then to jail. You'll have to stay there until you're released. Step three, arraignment. After you've been arrested, the government has to tell you what crimes you've been charged with or accused of doing. This happens in your first court session called the arraignment. Also, the judge decides whether you'll be released until your trial, have to wait for your trial in jail, or have to post bail, meaning give the court money to hold on to until you show up for your trial. Most people are required to post bail. Activity, let's turn and talk. So with a partner, you're going to discuss what factors do you think the judge considers when deciding about bail? What factors would you consider? Step four, pretrial release. If the judge lets you out or you can afford to pay bail, which means to give the court money to hold on to until you show up for your trial, you'll be able to leave jail until your trial. This is called pretrial release. If you're on pretrial release, you can go back to your family, continue your job, and live a mostly normal life until your trial. Step 4, pretrial release. While you're out on pretrial release, you may have certain restrictions, such as needing to check in with someone at the court or wear an electronic monitoring ankle bracelet. Step 5, pretrial detention. If the judge keeps you in jail or you can't pay the bail, you'll have to stay in jail until your trial. This is called pretrial detention. If you're in pretrial detention, you'll be treated like you're in jail. There will be restrictions on where you can go, who you can see, and who may not be able, and you may not be able to keep your job. Step 5, pretrial detention. Depending on the crime, you may be in jail for weeks, months, or even years for the most serious crimes. At this point, you're still considered innocent according to the law. Turn and talk. With a partner, discuss. Do you think it's okay to keep legally innocent people in jail? What if they've been accused of a dangerous crime? You can write down a response to that, and then turn and talk with a partner. Step 6, trial. Whether you were on pretrial release or kept in pretrial detention, you'll eventually return to court for your trial. During the trial, the prosecutor, meaning the government lawyer, and your defense lawyer try to convince a jury of 12 random people that you did or didn't commit the crime. Step 6, trial. At trial, the jury determines whether you are guilty of the crime, whether you committed the crime or not. If you're found guilty, you'll be punished. If not, you'll be let free. If you've posted bail, you'll get your money back if you show up to trial, regardless of the outcome. Step 7, acquitted. If the prosecutor doesn't convince all 12 jury members that you committed the crime, you'll be acquitted or not found guilty, or found not guilty. Once you've been acquitted, you're free to go. If you spend time in jail waiting for trial, you won't be compensated for it in any way. Step 8, convicted. If the prosecutor does convince all 12 jury members that you committed the crime, you'll be convicted or found guilty. The judge decides what punishment you're going to face based on the crime you committed. If you spend time in jail waiting for trial, the time will be taken off your punishment. You now have a criminal record. If you posted bail, you'll still get your money back if you came to trial. Turn and talk. Do you think random people should decide whether a defendant is guilty or innocent? What are the pros and cons? Again, so do you think random people should decide whether a defendant is guilty or innocent? And what are the pros, meaning what are the good things about that? And what are the cons, meaning like what's not so good about that? So you can write down a response to that and then turn and talk to a partner. Okay, step 9, jail, prison. If the crime was serious, the judge may decide that you need to be locked in jail or prison as your punishment. Jail, if it's less than a year, and prison if it's more than a year. So in other words, if it's less than a year that you need to be detained, you'll be in jail because it's less than a year. But if you need to be detained for more than a year, then you're going to be in a prison. That's just what that means. So while I'm jail or prison, you won't have many freedoms. You won't be able to see your family and you'll probably lose your job. If you behave, you may be released from prison early. Step 10 is probation. If the crime wasn't as serious, the judge may give you a lighter punishment called probation. Probation is a lighter punishment than jail prison. You'll be free, but there will be additional restrictions on you. Step 10, probation. You may not be able to do certain things like drive, drink, or use the internet, or you may be required to regularly check in with a government worker. Sometimes these are called probation officers. After you've complied for a while, the restrictions will be lifted. So common probation and parole conditions. Two types of conditions, reform conditions and control conditions. Some examples are desist from crime or like stop committing crimes or doing crimes, work regularly, support dependents, like if you have any kids or anyone who depends on you, you have to support them. Submit to drug testing to make sure you're not using any drugs. Live in the same location, regular reporting to like a probations officer. Submit to visits by probation or parole officers. So meaning they'll come to your home to make sure that you're there, make sure you're not using drugs, make sure you don't have any alcohol in there, and then other special conditions. All right. Step 11 is return to the community. So after you've completed your punishment, you'll be able to return to the community. Even though you've completed your punishment, people, such as any future employers, will be able to learn that you committed a crime. So it basically will stay on your record that you committed this crime. If the crime was serious, there may also be additional restrictions placed on you for the rest of your life. Okay, so what is this? Matching pairs. Oh, cool. I think this is like an activity. Okay, it seems like there's a matching activity. Okay, I'll pull this up. I'm gonna continue reading and then maybe I'll do this activity towards the end. Okay, so let's do a recap. Steps of the criminal justice process. Recap. There are 4 main steps to the criminal justice process. Number 1, the police collect evidence about a crime. Based on that evidence, they arrest someone they think is involved in the crime. Number 2, a judge decides whether the arrested person, A, can be released until trial, called release on recognizance. B, must pay bail to be released until trial, or C, must stay in jail until trial. So which of those 3 is the answer? Okay, I'm gonna stop the video here. Oh, well, there's the correct answer. So B is the correct answer there. Let's review this last part here and then I'll cut the video here. Number 3, the government's lawyer and the arrested person's lawyer prepares their cases for trial. Number 4, a trial is held where a jury decides whether the arrested person committed the crime or not. So these are basically the 4 main steps. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause here.